Welcome to the Education Marketing Leader podcast with Chris Raposo. If you're looking to dive into the latest industry insights, draw inspiration from education success stories, or just want to sharpen your marketing skills, you're in the right place. Here, we bring you a diverse range of voices from experts and leaders in the field, offering you a unique blend of professional development and practical strategies. Whether you want to understand your audience better, stay updated with the latest tech trends in marketing, or expand your professional network, we've got you covered. So while you're driving on your morning commute or winding down after a busy day, let's explore the dynamic world of education marketing together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Education Marketing Leader with Chris Raposo. Today, I have the pleasure of a guest joining me from the Bluegrass State. She is the Director of Public Relations and Alumni Engagement at Maysville Community and Technical College out of Maysville, Kentucky. And she's also the Assistant Director for District 2 of NCMPR. Megan Smedley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Megan, thank you so much for being a part of this. We had our previous conversation. I know I found you through NCMPR, an organization that we're both passionate about. And during our pre-interview, you told me that you had a passion for building trust and community through student stories, and that's what we're going to focus on during this interview. But before I do so, I want to always get a little bit of background on my guests and why they are in the position where they are today. So can you give us a little bit of an overview of Maysville Community and Technical College and why you chose to go there and what you love about working at the community college?
Absolutely. So Maysville Community and Technical College is a part of a 16 college system in the state of Kentucky. We fall under the umbrella of the Kentucky Community and Technical College systems. And so we have community colleges spread all across the state. And then we have our central office, if you will, and our system office, which is located in Versailles. So, I came to Maysville because I grew up in the neighboring county, the county right next door. And, it was kind of like a return to home for me because so many of the students that we have here are from my hometown. And so it was really great to kind of get back to my roots and really, build community within the community that built me, if you will. And so, like I said, it was just a return to home for me, and it's been wonderful. And I was a former teacher in a past life, so I actually taught in my hometown as well after graduating from college. And so to see so many, not only former students who were in my graduating class, but former students I had the honor to teach come through our doors has been truly incredible. Just a little bit about Maysville, about our institution. We have an average of around 3,000 students enrolled per semester. Those students are spread across our 4 campus locations. So each college has a variety of campuses. So we're even more spread across the state. I believe we're at 72 campuses at this point, 4 of which are Maysville Community and Technical College campuses. We are the largest service region in the state. So we have, I think we're at like 17 counties. We share 3 of those counties with Ashland Community and Technical College, which is our most eastern neighbor. So according to where those students live in the county, they may choose to come to Maysville or they may choose to go to Ashland. It's just a spatial thing or program offerings. We offer programs that Ashland might not. And so, it's really those 3 counties, like I said, we share. We're split custody of those students. And so, like I said, about 3,000 students. Our 4 campuses are about 45 minutes apart from each other. So if I were to walk out my door, which I live farther east than most of our employees, but I've got between 30 minutes and an hour and 45-minute drive to any of our campuses from my front door. So, we're very spread because of our large service region. But like I said, we have 3,000 students. Last fall, we were the top enrolled college in our system. So, which is an honor. Our enrollment team has worked really hard. We've done a lot of digital marketing, which we've learned has been very instrumental in our enrollment numbers because let's face it, our Gen Z students, they're looking online. They're not paying attention to your standard strategies like paper mailers and that kind of thing, they're looking online. So the investment that the college has made in digital marketing, I think, has really made an impact. And last fall, we were up 17% in enrollment from the previous fall. So we're trending high, which is great. And we look to be on track for this fall to match those numbers.
That is amazing. Congratulations on that. I mean, job well done. I know it takes a lot of effort, so we can sit here and talking about all those great achievements and take it for granted, but it is hard because you see it in the news every other day. There's another college closing, so don't take that for granted that you have those that run on your school. Congratulations on that. But you mentioned that you had 4 different campuses. Now, I went to a community college as well, Hillsborough Community College in Tampa, Florida, and they had about 4 or 5 different campuses, but I was able to drive to every single one of them, no problem. It was maybe the furthest one was maybe 30 minutes away. So yours are like 45 minutes spread out. So how do these unique locations of each campus influence your marketing strategies? Are all the same bucket, or do you have to change that a little bit?
So I primarily work with our print partners, our newspaper partners. I do my best to send them content that's going to be relevant to their communities, especially when you're looking at student success stories and alumni success stories. They aren't necessarily going to run those success stories like if it's at our Montgomery campus in Mount Sterling, they're probably not going to run the student success story of the student from Maysville or the student from Cynthiana. And so, really kind of personalizing those types of press releases to cater to their communities is a focus. Not always possible. We actually have 20 media partners that we serve between print, print, radio, and television. And so, it's challenging at times. And so really, like I said, as I can, focusing on, the communities that they're serving. But, especially when you're coming up with something like Dean's List and President's List, those hit all of them. So those go to everybody. Our TV partners are actually based in Lexington. They're not actually based within our service region, so they get all the content as well. Radio partners, I do the same as print. I try to keep it as regional as possible because, as you know, with radio, it's not just based in the county in which they serve. You're looking at a more regional, like maybe tri-county effort. So, it's been a challenge. I'm not going to lie. And when I stepped into this position, I did not see it as being such a challenge, but it has been, to making sure that I'm only giving those agencies the content that they want as opposed to what I want to give them. So that's something that I continually work on. And I've gotten feedback from some of our print partners that, it's still their desire is to just get that localized content.
Yeah. And I did mention it earlier, but you do have a unique background that benefits you with your outreach to news outlets because you used to be a reporter in the past, weren't you?
Yes. It's so ironic when I think about it because when the campus that I'm sitting in was constructed, I was the reporter that was covering the education beat for this area. And so, I remember walking into this campus when they did their ribbon cutting. It's incredible to think back on, that was just 5 years ago. Almost 6. And so to be sitting in an office that I once toured as a reporter is incredible. But it gives me a really unique relationship with our media partners because, so often they're getting communications folks and whatnot, and that's great. But my background, as I said, I was a teacher in a past life. My background is really on education, not so much journalism. Like I said, I covered the education beat for the Moorhead News here in Moorhead for a year and a half before they downsized. But I didn't come into that role with a communications degree. I came into that role with an English degree, which ended up serving me quite well. I mean, it's all worked out great. It's been very serendipitous, but that does give me a unique perspective on the needs of the media in our region.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really grateful to have you on the show today to teach us a couple of things because I know there are some people out there that may have never worked with the news or don't know how to approach a reporter to get their stories picked up. Now, as we're talking about stories, let's talk about the power of student stories because it's something you heavily lean into and you enjoy sharing. For Maysville Community and Technical College, how do you utilize student stories in your marketing effort? And can you share some impactful student stories that resonated with your audience?
Student success stories is my bread and butter. Like, that's what brings me all the joy, and that's the reason that I do what I do, because it's so powerful, not just for our community and not just for our college, but for me as an individual to be able to share the success. This area is heavily, like, it's a high poverty area. We have a lot of issues with, like, the drug epidemic. We have a lot of grandparents providing care for their grandchildren as opposed to them being in the homes with their parents. Like, it really is, when you look at it from a wide lens, it really is kind of sad. And I don't want to down my community, because again, it's who created me. But there are a lot of struggles that members of our community face on varying levels. And so to be able to write those student success stories of students who have been impacted by those types of scenarios and come out on the other side of it with a degree from our institution and have gone on to better the lives for themselves and their families is truly powerful. And like I said, it's the reason why I do what I do. I wouldn't want to just sit here all day and write, like, enroll now in fall classes type press releases, or I wouldn't want to sit and write press releases of our events that we have on campus or whatnot. And while those things are great, and while they're what keep the lights on, it's not why I do what I do. I'm very passionate about sharing those pull yourself up by your bootstraps and go on to do the great things type stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I focus on those primarily because I do think that they are inspiring to other people in the community who may be facing similar struggles. So whether or not they have overcome addiction and now want to go back to work, whether or not they, have come from extreme poverty and want to build a better life for future generations in their family. There's a whole gamut of stories like those out there of our students. I've only scratched the surface of those stories because, again, I'm not able to, probe our students with those types of questions when they enroll or when they graduate. And so it takes almost them being sent to me for me to be able to get those. I try to be boots on the ground as much as I can and really meet and talk with our students. But honestly, our faculty are the ones that are in the trenches with them and see where they came from and where they're going. And so, but those are the ones I work for, because when someone out there who's dealing with similar circumstances hears those stories, it gives them inspiration to say, I could do that too. This student who was facing this trial, they went through this and they've come out on the other side and now they're successful. There's no reason I couldn't come to college, come out on the other side and be successful. And so, like I said, that's why I do what I do. I actually had a student that I did a press release on this spring. He was actually sent to me by our president, although ironically, someone else had given me a tip about him, but I can't recall. But I was going to do just a social media post about him for Community College Month. I wasn't going to do anything big. Like I said, someone had given me a lead, and then the president actually had a conversation with him just casually when she was visiting the campus that he was taking classes on. And she goes, Megan, you need to do a feature on this guy. And so she gave me his contact information. I reached out to him, and his story is just incredible. Came back to college as a 41-year-old. He had been a drug addict for over 10 years. He'd almost lost everything. Got married. His wife drug him to church, and I don't want to get all preachy on, but he found Jesus. He got sober, and he decided to return to college and change his life at 41 years old. And he just graduated in May from our industrial maintenance program. And he just praises our faculty and staff for their willingness to help him through all the channels that he needed to get through from point A to point B. And it's incredible when you think about it, because maybe 5 years ago, he was hopeless. Like, he felt hopeless. His family had likely given up hope in him at some point or another. Maybe not completely, like they may not have completely given up, but he accredits his success to his praying parents. And they never gave up on him. And so for him to come out of that situation, go and graduate, now be able to live a better life for his wife and his son. He's got a 2-year-old little boy who, was born right around the time that he made the choice to return to college. And so it gives me chills when I think about it. And I got to actually see him at graduation. Hadn't met the man in person. I do a lot of my communication with my students via email or text message because we are so scattered. It's really hard to sit down. And a lot of our students they're not just traditional students who come to class and go back to the dorm, because a lot of our students are non-traditional. They go to work, come to class, go home to their families, go to soccer, maybe work night shift. Like, there's a whole variety here for parents. We have a whole variety of circumstances that our student faces, not just your traditional undergrad experience of go to class, maybe work a part-time job, go home, do homework, repeat. And so I hadn't had a chance to meet this student. And like I said, I saw him walk past me at graduation as he was exiting, and I hollered at him and told him how proud I was to know him and of him. And he gave me a big hug and then went on his way. And that's why we do what we do. That's why
that is beautiful. That is inspirational. That gives you strength to keep on going and fighting the good fight. This guy breaking a generational curse, pulling himself out of the mud and moving forward, supporting his family through the power of education. So it's a beautiful story. I really appreciate you for sharing that. And I'm sure that there are a lot of students and their parents out there who get affected by these sort of stories. Is there any feedback you've ever gotten from either a parent, from a student who said, hey, I saw one of your students' stories. That's what drove me to come to your school?
See, that's the kind of the downside to this gig, is because while I try to get out of my office as much as possible, I'm really pretty well holed up in my office most of the time. So I don't get to have that feedback with students. I see social media comments and stuff, and that's great. But to actually know that they came to the college because they read this story or whatnot, I don't get that as much. And that is kind of one of the, I'm not going to say disheartening, because I know that they're impactful. Like, I know when I write a story that I know is going to touch a lot of lives, but I don't actually get that immediate feedback because I'm not out in the trenches. Like, I'm not, with the students and stuff. I do get feedback every so often from a faculty member who said, that they heard from a student or whatnot, but it's not the, you got this number of students enrolled because of this story. And I wish that there was a way that I could quantify that, but at this point, there's just not.
It does make an impact, though, for sure, because, if we're looking at something, regardless of what it is, it doesn't have to be a degree. If we're trying to buy a product online, we're looking at reviews first. And if you see a student testimonial or a student success story, it's kind of like a review of the college, of what the outcome is and what one can achieve if they go to your school. So that's really important, super impactful. I think that sort of social proof is some of the best proof you can offer somebody who's considering your college or university. Now, you mentioned earlier that in your area, there's a lot of poverty, drug epidemic, kids being raised by their grandparents. So let's talk about reaching a little bit of a wider audience. How do you ensure that those student stories don't just get to that prospective student, but maybe, reach the local community, maybe reach the local church even, where the preacher's talking about and encouraging kids to, or young adults, or even people like this 40-year-old one to go back to school to better their lives. Can you share some examples of that? How maybe family members share those stories? Is it on social media, or how does that work?
So our primary focus, obviously, social media, because regardless of what generation you're in, you likely use one platform or another. So I actually don't handle our social media accounts on our campus because our marketing manager handles those, and she does a phenomenal job. We are primarily on Facebook. That's our top. We do have Instagram. We have LinkedIn. We do some YouTube videos, which that doesn't affect me on the writing side. But we haven't utilized TikTok, although that is one that, as a system, we're hoping to hopefully be more involved in. We're kind of waiting to see how it shakes out. There's a lot of controversy around TikTok right now. We're not allowed to have those on our state devices in Kentucky. So it's kind of a waiting game for TikTok. But Facebook and Instagram are obviously two of the big ones because you hit very diverse populations as far as generational, outlook. And so all of our content gets shared. All of my content gets shared to those two platforms. And so that's a way that I hope to reach, either the children of prospective students or the parents of prospective students, or, so-and-so who went to church with so-and-so's meemaw. Like, you get, you cast a wide net with those two platforms. And I also, when I send out my press releases, I also have a community partners distribution list, which was really brilliantly recommended to me by someone at our systems office marketing team. But in that community partners list, I have our Chamber of Commerce presidents. I have our local legislators, which, like I said, in a service region as large as ours, I think we have like 10 local legislators that cover that service region, maybe more than that. I may be making that number up. But local our board of directors for our college is on that list, and our foundation board is on that list. And probably my personal favorite, every guidance counselor in every high school. And I need to point out that I didn't just drop their emails in this distribution list. I previously emailed all of them and said, hey, I'm working on my distribution list for press releases from Maysville Community Technical College. Would you like to receive the press releases that I send out? And they all opted in, which shows the transformative power of building those relationships between the high schools and the community colleges. And so, like I said, I have that wide net of, you have the people who are talking to the people in the high schools. You have the people who are talking to the business owners who might be wanting to upskill their employees. You have the community leaders who, may have a voice in Frankfurt. Like all these people, like I said, very wide net, very varying 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 audiences that I'm able to reach with my press releases, just based on that community partners press release distribution list.
Yeah, community partners are so beneficial and help you really, amplify that voice that you have and just give me tenfold, hundredfold sometimes. Now, you talked earlier about just getting the student stories. Obviously, some of these stories are very personal, very delicate, and you have to build a lot of trust with these students that they open up to you, so you'll be able to share those stories with the wider community. Because let's face it, some people may have the fear of being judged. So how do you address some of these issues when it comes to these student stories, and how do you encourage others to share their stories for the betterment of the community?
So I lean really heavily on our faculty and staff because, again, as I've alluded to, they're the ones that are forming those relationships with the students straight out of the gate. Mm-hmm. And at Maysville Community and Technical College, one of the things I sound like I'm an infomercial right now. At Maysville Community and Technical College, one of the things we pride ourselves on is our low class size. We average about 17-to-1 ratio faculty to students. Honestly, in some of our lower enrollment programs, obviously that number is even less. The lower enrollment you have, the more one-on-one time that you get with our faculty. But for the most part, we're looking at about 17-to-1 ratio, which allows our faculty to truly form relationships with our students. They're not just a butt in the chair. They are someone that they get to know over the course of that 2 years. I remember my first day as a student at Morehead State, I walked into a psychology class I was taking, and it was in a theater, auditorium style. And I was one of like 150 students in that classroom. And I don't know that the professor ever knew could identify my name with my face. I honestly don't even know if he ever actually saw my face in that sea of people. And so it's really great that we're able to utilize those low class sizes in order to truly form relationships with our students. And when our students graduate, they don't just, they're friends with our faculty on Facebook. Our faculty are able to see the success of their students post-graduation, which also allows them to send me those tips as alumni success stories, which is, along the same vein as our student success stories. Actually may be more powerful, because that's when you guarantee they've done the thing. They've done the thing, and now they're making $50 to $70 to $100,000 a year from, making minimum wage or not working at all.
Yeah.
I totally lean on our faculty and staff for those tips. And I don't just, if they give me a tip, I don't just randomly reach out to them. I say, hey, talk to the student, make sure they're good. Obviously, I don't want to share anything if they don't want to. And then once they've built that foundation with the student, then they kind of forward their contact to me. And then I reach out and say, thank you for letting me share your story. I'm so honored. I really appreciate your courage and the impact that you're going to make in the community is astronomical. And I really let them know that the impact that they're about to have on their communities as a whole.
Yeah, it's all about giving that respect that is due to those students. Now, let's talk about the impact of those student stories. It could be difficult to, you're the one who's distributing it and you may never hear from these people again and you don't know what impact that story may have. But you shared with me earlier that you were there on graduation day. This man, 41 years old, enrolled, graduated, found Jesus, got sober. What was his reaction when you approached him and told him that you were proud of him?
The smile that came across that man's face is something that will be like forever ingrained in my memory. It's going to be the high point. It's going to be the thing that I tell my grandkids about. It's incredible. I'll tell you a story not all related to press releases, but it's great. Actually, one of our board of directors told us this during a meeting. So our president does something really cool during graduation. She takes like 5 minutes during the commencement ceremony and she asks students to take out their phones. And she's like, yes, I mean it. Take out your phones. Like, I'm not kidding. They take out their phones and she encourages them to take a selfie of them with the people around them as kind of like a memory from the moment. And then she goes, okay, now I'm not done. I want one too. And she gets her phone and she turns around and she puts her phone up and tries to get a picture of her with as many from the graduating class as she can. And so when she was doing that activity, one of our board of directors members who was sitting on the front row heard a student directly behind her as Dr. McCullough, our president, was doing that. She said, gosh, you can tell she's just so proud of us. And that's where it's at. That's what we're doing here, and it's going to sound super cheesy, but we truly are. And it's not just like a gimmick. We really are so proud of every student because we know the obstacles that they face to get where they are. And so that's the only reason why we're here, to get these students to, obviously make money and have a job and earn a salary and pay our own bills. That obviously that's but that is the thing, it's not just a transactional thing. You're collecting the tuition from those students and they walk through the college and then they forget about you. It's just a place that they got their degree. There's actually meaning behind it. So you get those referrals, those students where they send their kids to your school because they had such a great experience there. Absolutely. And, we're not doing this to get rich. We're doing this because of the impact we know we're making on the lives of these people, that we serve.
Yeah, it seems to me like you found your calling with this profession.
It's one of those things where, like, if you ask me what my dream job is, like, if I could quit today and do my dream job, I would be sitting on a beach somewhere writing romance novels, drinking cocktails, and, living my best life. But that's not feasible. Like, of our population in the United States, you've got a handful of, like, truly successful authors. I get to write for a living, Chris. It's not like I get to actually put words on a paper and get paid for it. And there's not a lot of that out there either. And so I know I'm truly honored to get to do that, but also really enjoy it because, again, writing something that I'm incredibly passionate about just as a hobby and now a job. So.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about communications. If you're good at it, if you own your craft, you can make a living out of it. So future plans, let's talk about that. There's a lot going on. Marketing always evolve. You just said you write a lot, but are there any initiatives, new platform that you plan to use to share those student stories? I know people are apprehensive about TikTok, but then they're moving over to YouTube Shorts. Is this something you consider?
Absolutely. So we are working, our marketing person's working very hard, and I'm actually going to do the script writing for some of this. Our marketing person, Mary, I call her marketing person. She's our marketing manager is her official title, but she's going to do some short form videos, Instagram reels, the Facebook videos, the shorts. And so that's obviously something that's on trend right now that we really want to utilize. I will say something that we're very excited about at our system. I actually had the training on this yesterday. This is not at all related to like writing, but we are utilizing a new platform called Critical Mention. And this is not a promotional post for Critical Mention. I'm not getting paid. This is not an endorsement. I'll let you know. I'll come back later if I want to endorse it. But we got training on it yesterday, and it's a media monitoring software that we're going to be utilizing. And I'm so incredibly excited about it because it's going to allow me to see how many media hits I get on like what was the most successful press releases I've written, and allow me to kind of track what's getting pushed out and what's not. And so I do plan to utilize that, because the only other way that I'm able to track media is to either sit down with a digital subscription or a print subscription of each of these 20 newspapers that we have and scour every page of every edition to see where Maysville Community College articles land. And I don't have that kind of time. So to be able to have a digital service that's going to do that for us is something I'm incredibly excited about. And like I said, it's going to really change. I hope it doesn't change, but it has the potential to change how I distribute my press releases, because if only the student success stories are getting picked up, well, then yes, let's lean into that. But if they're not, maybe we need to pull the reins and really look at what trends there are within those so they can kind of guide what I do going forward.
Very smart. Follow the data. Follow the data. So Critical Mention. Okay, I'm going to have to look into that as well. Very interesting stuff. So as we close the episode, what advice would you give somebody working at a college or university looking to leverage their students' stories in their marketing? Are there some best practices that you've used that you would suggest other people would do as well?
It's all about relationship building, Chris. And even if you're not building the relationships like outside of your institution, you really need to build those relationships inside of your institution, because I couldn't do what I do without the support of our faculty and staff. If they didn't trust me, they wouldn't send me those stories. If they didn't realize the impact that they have, they wouldn't send me those stories, because they're always knocking on my door. It's actually quiet today because our faculty are off contract, but I usually get, I would say at least once a week, I get an email about a tip for a student success story, and those will always pan out, but for the most part, they do. And so it's really building that relationship with your faculty and staff to ensure that when they are having those interactions with students and they hear those stories, your name is the first thing they think of. You know, oh, I need to send this to Megan because this would be a great story. And it takes some level of trust, not only for them with me, but because they've got to give me the green light. They've got to be the ones that say, Megan's going to take good care of you. Like, Megan's not going to set you up. And once they do that, because the students trust the faculty, they're going to be more likely to give me the content that I need. Yeah. And I will say there's been a lot of times that I've had conversations with our students and alumni where I'm writing their content down, and I'm not going to say that I question like their willingness to share some of the stuff, but I'm like, you've really like been vulnerable with me. Like, and that I wear that as a badge of honor, that I am someone that they feel like they can trust enough, that I'm not going to utilize their story for evil, if you will. Like, that I'm going to use my powers for good, and that means a lot. So I really, like I said, I recommend being your boots on the ground, people, forming those relationships with them and making them strong and building that trust, because without that mutual trust, you don't have anything.
That's right. Use the golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated, and not just get a story out there about a particular topic and that may be trending for a day or two, but you'll forever have burned that relationship. So look for the long term. Megan, super episode. Thank you so much for sharing everything. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about you or just connect with you as a person? Absolutely.
So the easiest way to get in touch with me, I'm a millennial. This thing's glued to my hand. I've got my email on it. If you want to email me, my email address is Megan, MEGAN, Smedley, SMEDLEY, at K, as in, oh gosh, I suddenly kite. I'm like, what words are there? K, C as in cat, P as in top, ACP, C as in cat, S.com, Kentucky Community and Technical College System.com. I guess I could have done that, right? I did here. Also, I'm very active on social media. You can find me on Facebook at Megan Smedley. You can find me on LinkedIn, Megan Smedley. The profile picture, I don't even know what it looks like, if you want me to be honest with you. And then I'm on TikTok. Don't follow me on TikTok because I just demonstrate that I shouldn't be on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram. So any of those are great. I answer direct messages. So if you want to message me, fantastic. I'd love to connect. LinkedIn is, I guess, is the most professional platform to connect with me on, but any of the other channels are great too.
Perfect. I'll be sure to tag you in the recap and then put your email on there as well so people can reach out to you directly from the episode. So thank you, Megan. It was such an insightful episode. I really thank you for being a part of the show.
Absolutely. The honor was all mine. I really appreciate you and what you're doing, Chris. And thank you for your promotion of NCMPR. Do I have a quick second to make a plug for NCMPR? Would that be okay?
Yes, please.
I'm really honored to be a part of NCMPR. It's our premier organization for community technical college marketing and PR professionals. So there's this really cute video that's out now about asking first-time conference attendees what NCMPR stands for. And I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of hang-ups on that. So NCMPR stands for the National Council of Marketing and Public Relations. However, like I said, it is strictly for community college marketing and PR professionals. We have 7 districts within the organization all across the United States and in our U.S. territories. So District 2 essentially covers the entire southeastern United States from Kentucky down. And then those, the Bahamas and U.S. Virgin Islands and those folks. And I'm trying to convince our national office that District 2 needs to be allowed to have one of our conferences there because that sounds like a great time. But like I said, amazing organization. It's changed my life. It's allowed me to network and communicate with so many world-class professionals, people that I never would have met otherwise, people who have so many insights on like diversity and marketing and PR strategies and crisis communication strategies. And, I have a wealth of resources at my doorstep that I can reach out to and say, hey, how did you handle such a situation? And so it's fantastic. Highly recommend anyone who is in community college marketing and PR to register because there's so many resources that are available to you. You have access to a listserv of every single member of the organization where you can send an email out and say, how did you address X situation? And anybody within the organization can respond and tell their experience. So 10 out of 10 recommend. It's changed my life. Let it change yours too. If you're in District 2, join us in Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. And on October 8th through 10th, registration's open. Nope, that's a lie. We're taking callers for presentations right now through the middle of July. So registration will soon be open, and we'd love to see you. I know it's going to be hard for us to compete because our national conference is going to be in New Orleans, which is also a District 2 state. So people might be budgeting for one conference per year, and I'm not going to lie. If I just got the choice between Lexington and New Orleans, I'd probably know which one I'd choose, but Lexington's going to be a great time. So if you can, and you're in District 2, join us for that. If you're not in District 2, we'll see you in New Orleans next March.
Yes, I highly recommend NCMPR. I've been to 2 of the conferences, one in Orlando in 2023 and one in Seattle 2024. Tight-knit group, super approachable, really nice people. So go check it out.
This past year too.
Yes, I'll see you in New Orleans for sure.
Hey, we're going to have to make sure to connect. We're going to have to go find some gumbo or something while we're there.
Yes, or beignets. Okay, that sounds good, Megan. All right, thank you so much for joining the show. We'll talk soon.
All right, thank you, Chris. I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning into the show today. If you enjoyed it, don't keep it to yourself. Share with your friends in your network. And if you have a moment, I would really appreciate a review of the podcast. That'll help other people find the show as well. Tune in every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. when I release another episode. Take care now. Have a good one, friends.